A nail and a screw can both hold two pieces of wood together. But if they're both doing the same job, why do we even need two different fasteners? And here's the strange part. The screw seems like the obvious winner. It has threads, it grips the wood, and you can easily take it back out. So why are nails still used in so many buildings? The answer comes down to something much more interesting than simply which one is stronger. Let's find out, right here, on History of Simple Things. At first glance, the difference between a nail and a screw seems almost too obvious to explain. You hammer a nail in. You drive a screw in by turning it. But that difference in installation is actually the key to understanding how they work. A nail is driven straight into the material. As it enters the wood, it pushes the surrounding fibers aside. Those fibers then press against the nail's shaft, creating friction that helps keep it in place. A screw works differently. Its threads cut or form a path through the material as it rotates. Those threads give the screw something to mechanically grip. So although both fasteners occupy roughly the same space, they're interacting with the material in very different ways. And that leads to an important question. If screws have threads that grip the material, why wouldn't you simply use screws for everything? One of the biggest advantages of a screw is its resistance to being pulled out. Imagine you've screwed two pieces of wood together. Now try pulling them apart. The screw's threads are embedded in the wood, and those threads have to work their way back through the material before the screw can come out. That's why screws are particularly useful when you want something to stay tightly assembled. They're also excellent when you need to pull two pieces of material together. As the screw rotates, the threads advance through the material. Depending on the design and application, that movement can draw the pieces together and create a tight connection. And then there's another huge advantage. You can remove the screw. If you've ever assembled furniture and realized you've installed something backward, you already know how useful this is. Turn the screw in reverse and you can usually take it out without much trouble. A nail doesn't give you that convenience. So if screws are so good at holding things together, why haven't nails disappeared? Because nails have a few advantages of their own. The first is speed. A nail can be driven in extremely quickly. Hit it with a hammer a few times and you're finished. Modern construction takes this even further with nail guns, which can drive nails rapidly into wood. Now imagine you're constructing a wooden frame and need to install hundreds or thousands of fasteners. Even a small difference in installation time becomes significant. A screw requires rotation. A nail requires impact, and when speed matters, that can make nails the practical choice. There's another reason nails work so well in construction. They're capable of flexing. Wood isn't perfectly rigid. It expands and contracts as moisture and temperature change. Structures can also experience vibration, movement, and repeated loading. A nail can sometimes bend slightly under these forces without immediately breaking. This can be useful in applications where the fastener needs to tolerate movement. Certain structural nails are specifically designed with this kind of behavior in mind. A screw, particularly one not designed for structural use, can behave differently. Because screws are often harder and more rigid, certain loads can cause them to snap rather than bend. That doesn't mean screws are fragile. It simply means the two fasteners are designed around different mechanical characteristics. The screw's greatest trick is hidden in something you can easily see: its thread. A thread is essentially a ramp wrapped around the screw. When you rotate the screw, that ramp converts rotational movement into forward movement. This gives you mechanical advantage. Instead of simply forcing the entire fastener forward with one impact, you're gradually advancing it through the material while the threads engage with it. That's why you can drive a screw with relatively little force compared with trying to push the same screw straight into the wood. And once it's installed, those threads provide a strong mechanical connection. This is particularly valuable when the force is trying to pull the screw back out. Here's where the idea that screws are stronger gets misleading. Strength isn't one single thing. A fastener might be excellent at resisting being pulled out but less suitable for another type of force. Screws can be very effective against withdrawal forces, but certain screws can be more prone to snapping under particular sideways or repeated loads. A nail may bend instead. There's also installation. Driving a screw takes more time than hammering a nail, especially if you're working manually. And if you apply too much torque, you can strip the screw head or damage the material. A nail doesn't have a screw head to strip, you simply hit it. This is why professional construction doesn't simply choose one fastener and use it everywhere. Different jobs call for different properties. Wood framing, for example, commonly relies heavily on nails because they're fast to install and can perform well under the types of forces encountered in structural wood connections. Screws are extremely useful for applications where strong withdrawal resistance, precise installation, or future disassembly matters, and there are specialized versions of both. You can find nails with textured or ringed shanks that increase their holding ability. You can find screws specifically engineered for structural connections, decking, drywall, woodworking, and countless other applications. So the question isn't really, which is stronger? It's stronger at what? There's one more piece of the puzzle: the material you're fastening. A fastener doesn't exist in isolation. A screw driven into soft wood behaves differently from one driven into hard wood. The length and diameter matter. The thread design matters. The quality of the material matters. Even the direction of the grain can influence how a fastener behaves. That's why choosing a fastener isn't simply about grabbing the biggest one available. Too large, and you can split the wood or damage the material. Too small, and it might not provide enough holding power. The right fastener is the one whose design matches the job. So which one wins? If you need a fast, tough fastener for many types of construction work, especially where speed and resistance to movement matter, a nail can be an excellent choice. If you want strong resistance to being pulled out, need to clamp pieces together, or expect that you'll eventually need to take the connection apart, a screw can be the better option. Neither one is universally superior. They're tools designed around different mechanical advantages. The nail is simple, fast, and capable of tolerating certain types of movement. The screw is slower to install but offers strong mechanical engagement and easy removal. And that's why both have survived for so long. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.